The sun was warm that afternoon, the kind of gentle warmth that made the leaves shine and the air feel soft. In the middle of a small town, a quiet park rested like a secret. Birds chirped in the trees, and the smell of fresh grass floated in the breeze. A few kids played on the swings, a dog barked in the distance, and people walked slowly along the paths, enjoying the peaceful day. Maya sat on her usual bench near the edge of the playground. She had her backpack beside her, and a notebook in her lap, though she wasn't writing. She liked coming here after school, just to watch. People moved differently when they thought no one was paying attention. Maya noticed everything: how a mom rocked her baby's stroller without even looking, how two friends laughed and leaned toward each other as they shared a snack, how the wind made the trees whisper. She saw him too, the old man who always came around the same time each day. He walked slowly, carefully, like every step had to be measured. He wore a dark jacket, even though it was warm, and a cap with patches sewn on. One patch said, U.S. Army, another had a small flag on it. He had a weathered face like old leather, with gray hair peeking out from under the cap. He sat alone on a bench, hands folded, eyes straight ahead. A group of teenagers nearby broke the quiet. They were older, maybe 14 or 15, loud and full of energy that didn't care about the peaceful park. Maya recognized one of them, Logan. He was tall, with messy hair and a voice that carried too far. He and his friends laughed too hard, shoved each other, and tossed an empty soda bottle between them, like it was a game. Then they saw the old man. Maya noticed the way Logan pointed and whispered something to his friend. The others snorted and giggled. One of them made a shuffling walk like they were pretending to be old. Another hunched over and groaned. Where am I? What year is it? The boys laughed louder. Maya's face tightened. She didn't laugh, she just watched. The old man didn't move. He just stared out at the trees, like he couldn't hear them. But Maya was sure he could. Logan tossed the soda bottle high into the air and caught it with one hand, grinning like he was showing off. His friends circled around him, still laughing from their jokes. Their voices grew louder, careless in the way people act when they think they're in control. Hey old man, Logan called out suddenly, not even trying to be quiet anymore. Maya's eyes snapped toward him. The veteran didn't turn his head. He stayed seated, his back straight, hands resting calmly on his knees. Logan took a step forward, encouraged by his friends. Did you forget where you parked your horse, Grandpa? He said with a smirk. The other boys burst out laughing. One even made a hoarse sound, and slapped the air like he was riding. Maya's stomach twisted. She looked at the man, expecting him to yell or maybe walk away, but he didn't. He just blinked slowly, and kept looking ahead. That made Logan more confident. Must be nice, Logan added, voice louder now, sitting around doing nothing while real people live their lives. Maya glanced around. A woman with a stroller turned her head at the noise but didn't say anything. Another man jogging by, had earbuds in and didn't even notice. No one was going to stop them. Maya felt small. She was just 13, not part of that group, not anyone who would be listened to if she spoke up, but still she didn't like it. The old man finally turned his head. Slowly. His face was calm, but his eyes were different. They held something deep and worn, like he had already heard every insult in the world and didn't have to answer to any of them. He looked right at Logan and said, I've seen boys like you before, loud until the real world makes them quiet. The teasing stopped for a second. Logan froze, his smile fading just a little. What's that supposed to mean? He asked, his voice not as strong. The man didn't explain, he just turned back toward the trees. Logan laughed again, but it didn't sound the same. He mumbled something to his friends, and walked off toward the fountain, kicking a rock as he went. Maya watched him go, then looked back at the old man. His shoulders were still straight, but his eyes were on the ground now. She didn't know why, but her heart felt heavy. Something about the whole moment felt wrong, like a string had been pulled too tight and was about to snap. She looked down at her notebook, and flipped it closed. For the first time that day, she didn't feel like writing. The park slowly settled again, but the feeling in the air had changed. The laughter from Logan and his friends faded into the distance, but Maya couldn't forget what had just happened. The words, the tone, The way Logan had spoken, it stayed with her like a thorn under the skin. She looked back at the old man. He still sat quietly, his face turned slightly toward the path, like he was watching memories pass instead of people. His hands rested on his knees, and the sunlight touched the side of his face, showing the deep lines and the pale scar on his cheek. Maya hesitated. She wasn't sure what made her move, but she stood up and walked slowly toward his bench. She stopped a few steps away, not wanting to seem rude. "Hi," she said softly. The man turned his head just a little, enough to see her. His expression didn't change much, but he nodded once. "I'm sorry about those boys," she added. "They were being really disrespectful." The old man gave a small shrug. "It's all right, not the first time." Maya didn't know what to say. She sat down carefully on the far end of the bench, giving him space. There was a long moment of silence between them, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt still, like a calm after a storm. "I'm Maya," she said after a while. The man looked at her more closely now. "Nice to meet you, Maya. I'm Mr. Harris." He had a soft voice, low and slow, like someone who didn't waste words. Maya glanced at his hat. "Were you really in the army?" He looked down at the patch on his cap and nodded. "A long time ago. Was it scary?" she asked, then quickly added. "You don't have to talk about it." He looked at her thoughtfully, then said, "Some parts yes, but that's not all it was." Maya didn't push, she just sat quietly, letting the breeze fill the space between them. And for the first time that day, Mr. Harris smiled. Just a little, but it was real. The sun had started to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the grass. Children were being called home by their parents, and the sounds of the park began to quiet. But on the bench under the tall oak tree, Maya and Mr. Harris stayed. "Did you know those boys?" he asked after a few minutes. "Not really," Maya said. "I go to the same school as some of them. That tall one, Logan. He's always loud. Acts like he's better than everyone else." She looked down at her shoes. "He picks on people sometimes." Mr. Harris nodded slowly, like that didn't surprise him. "I've known a few Logans in my life." Maya looked up. "You said you were in the army. What was it like?" He let out a small breath. "It's hard to explain. People think it's all about fighting, but there's more to it. You don't just carry a weapon, you carry people. Their hopes, their fear, their pain." He paused, then added. "And sometimes you carry them for real." Maya listened closely. His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't sad either. It was quiet, like a story being told by someone who had lived it too long to be surprised by it anymore. Mr. Harris slowly unbuttoned his jacket sleeve and rolled it up just a bit. A long scar stretched down his forearm, pale and smooth, like it had taken years to heal. Maya's eyes widened. "What happened?" He looked at the scar for a second before answering. "A roadside bomb. My friend was trapped under a piece of metal. I pulled him out." "Did he make it?" she asked, barely above a whisper. Mr. Harris smiled, a small but proud smile. "He did. He has 3 kids now. Sends me Christmas cards every year." Maya couldn't stop staring at the scar. It was one thing to hear about war on TV or in history class. It was another to sit beside someone who had been there, who had felt it in their skin. "Does it still hurt?" she asked. He gently pulled his sleeve back down. "Some days. But most of the time, it just reminds me what matters." Maya nodded. She liked listening to him. He didn't try to sound important or brave, he just told the truth. "I think it's really brave. What you did," she said softly. Harris looked at her and gave another small smile. "Brave is just doing what needs to be done, even when you're scared." Maya thought about that. It stayed in her head like a note from a song that wouldn't leave. They sat in silence again, not because they ran out of things to say, but because they didn't need to fill every moment with words. Sometimes just being there was enough. And that, Maya thought, was its own kind of strength. The sun hung lower now, brushing the tops of the trees with gold. The air had cooled slightly, and the park felt even quieter than before. Maya and Mr. Harris were still on the bench, not talking much anymore. There was comfort in the quiet. Then, from around the corner of the path, came the sound of footsteps, shuffling, slow at first, then louder. Maya turned her head and saw Logan walking back toward the bench, this time alone. He had his hands in his pockets, and his usual smug grin was missing. His shoulders weren't pulled back with pride like before. He looked uncertain. Maya tensed a little, unsure what he was going to say. Mr. Harris didn't move. He saw Logan too, but didn't react. Logan stopped a few feet away from them. He looked at Maya first, then at Mr. Harris. He didn't smile or joke this time. "You're still here?" he asked, his voice quiet, almost like he was embarrassed. Mr. Harris nodded slowly. "Good place to sit and think." Logan looked down at the ground. "I didn't mean anything earlier. I was just messing around." "Were you?" Mr. Harris asked. His tone was calm, not angry. Just honest. Logan shrugged, kicking at a patch of dirt. "I dunno. I guess I was just bored." There was a long pause. Then Mr. Harris spoke again. "Boredom doesn't give you permission to hurt people." Logan didn't answer right away. He looked like he wanted to say something smart, but nothing came out. After a moment, Mr. Harris patted the bench. "Come sit. Hear a story. If you're not afraid." Logan blinked. "Why would I be afraid?" Maya looked at him, her voice soft but steady. "Because this one's real." Logan hesitated. He looked at the bench, then at the scar still faintly visible on Mr. Harris's arm. Slowly he walked over and sat down, far enough to keep distance, but close enough to listen. Mr. Harris looked forward again, his eyes on the sky. "It was in the jungle," he said. "We were just boys. Not much older than you, and just like that, the story began." The air around the bench grew still, like even the wind had paused to listen. Mr. Harris leaned back slowly, his hands folded in his lap, his voice was soft, but steady. "It was 1969. I was 19. My unit was deep in the jungle, hot, thick air, bugs everywhere, and the kind of silence that makes your skin itch. We'd been walking for days, tired and hungry, trying to stay alert. You couldn't relax out there. Not ever." Maya glanced at Logan, who was staring at the ground, listening hard. "We were heading back from a patrol when we heard something, an explosion. Everything went white, like the sky had cracked open. I couldn't hear anything for a while, just ringing. My friend James, he was the one right behind me. He got hit in the leg. Bad." Mr. Harris paused, his eyes fixed on something far away. "We were supposed to keep moving. That's what they trained us to do. But I couldn't leave him there. So I picked him up, he was heavier than he looked, and started walking." Maya's eyes widened. "All by yourself?" He nodded. "Miles. Through mud, through vines, with bullets sometimes hitting the trees around us. My leg was bleeding too, shrapnel from the blast, but I didn't feel it. I just knew I had to keep going." He reached down and gently tapped the side of his calf, just above his boot. "Got this scar from that day. Took a year to walk without pain again." There was silence. Even Logan didn't move. Mr. Harris looked over at the two of them. "It wasn't about being brave. I was scared the whole time. But when someone's counting on you, you don't get to run." Maya swallowed hard, her throat tight with emotion. Logan finally spoke, his voice low. "What happened to James?" "He lived," Mr. Harris said with a nod. "Married his high school sweetheart when he got home. Sent me a photo of his grandkids last Christmas." Logan looked down, shame crawling across his face. "I didn't know. I thought you were just some old guy sitting around." Mr. Harris smiled, but it was sad. Most people see the wrinkles before they see the story. Logan didn't reply. He looked like he wanted to, but the words were stuck. Maya reached into her backpack and pulled out her notebook. She opened to a blank page and began to write, her pencil moving slowly. Mr. Harris looked up at the trees. "There's no pride in war," he said softly. "Only pain, and the people you carry with you." The wind moved again, rustling the leaves, as if nature itself had been waiting for the story to end before daring to speak. And in that quiet moment, something in Logan's face changed. The usual smirk was gone. In its place was something new, respect. Logan stayed quiet for a long time after the story. His fingers fidgeted with a loose thread on his sleeve, eyes down, lost in thought. The usual cockiness he carried like armor had melted away. "I didn't know you went through all that," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Harris didn't speak right away. He just nodded, like he understood. "I guess I just saw someone old and thought it was funny." Logan continued. "I didn't think about what your life might have been like." "That's how many people see the world," Mr. Harris said gently. "They look with their eyes, not with their hearts." Maya watched Logan carefully. She had never seen him like this before, uncertain, quiet. He looked like a kid trying to figure out how to be better, but not knowing where to start. "I'm sorry," he said, finally turning to Mr. Harris. "For the stuff I said, it wasn't right." Mr. Harris gave a small nod. "Saying sorry takes more courage than people think." Logan nodded, his eyes flicked to Maya, then away again. "I wasn't trying to be mean to you either," he added, his voice softer now. Maya smiled faintly. "You were, but it's okay, you're trying now." For a moment, the three of them just sat there, the space between them filled not with tension, but with something gentler, understanding. Mr. Harris shifted on the bench. "People carry scars in different ways. Some you can see," he said, lifting his sleeve slightly again, "and some you can't." Logan looked at the scar. This time he didn't flinch. He nodded, slowly. "I never thought about what people might have gone through before they got old," he said. "I guess I was just being dumb." "Dumb isn't forever," Mr. Harris said with a small smile. "You get to grow out of it, if you choose to." Logan didn't smile back, but his face relaxed a little. Maybe, Maya thought. He was starting to believe he could change. The street lights blinked on in the distance, signaling that the day was nearly done. And something about the park felt different now, like it had seen something important happen. The breeze grew cooler as the sky turned a soft orange, fading into evening. Birds flew overhead, heading home to their nests. Maya zipped up her backpack, but didn't move from the bench. She could feel the moment settling, like the ending of a book you didn't want to close yet. Logan stood slowly. "I should go," he said, looking at Mr. Harris. "Thanks for telling me your story. And for not yelling at me." Mr. Harris gave him a kind nod. "We all need someone to tell us the truth. I'm glad you listened." Logan looked at Maya for a second. "See you at school," he mumbled. Then he walked off, quieter than he had come, his hands still deep in his pockets. Maya watched him go, then turned to Mr. Harris. "Do you think he really meant it?" Mr. Harris shrugged gently. "Sometimes a person only needs one honest moment to begin changing." That might have been his. Maya smiled at that. She opened her notebook, and began to write again, the words coming more easily now. "I want to write your story," she said. "Not everything, just the part that matters." Mr. Harris raised an eyebrow. "And what part is that?" "The part where you didn't leave your friend, where you carried him." He nodded thoughtfully. "That's a good part to remember." They sat a little longer, letting the quiet settle around them. Maya felt something warm in her chest, not from the sun, but from understanding something deeper than books could teach. When she finally stood up to go, she looked down at Mr. Harris. "Thanks for talking to me, you helped more than you know." He gave her a small smile. "You helped too. You saw what others didn't." Maya walked away with a steady step, notebook in hand and heart full. Behind her, Mr. Harris remained on the bench, watching the sunset with peaceful eyes. And though the park looked the same, something had shifted, small, quiet, but real, because sometimes the strongest people aren't the loudest, they're the ones who carry others when no one's watching.